Right, welcome back to another physics video here. In this one here, we're going to be looking at what is work. I mean, this whole section that we're going to be looking at is what is work, what is power, and how is it related to energy, etc. So let's get into some fundamental basic concepts here to really get a grasp of what's going on. Remember, we want to really understand this, what's going on, not just memorize stuff. So let's have a look at the syllabus here for New South Wales students, but of course this is the same no matter where you're studying it. So this particular statement here, it says, apply the special case of conservation of mechanical energy to the analysis of motion involving work done. Well, stopping straight away there, we have to of course know what is conservation of mechanical energy. Now we're going to be getting onto that a little bit in this video, but in more videos we're going to be getting that concept across, and it's sort of going to build a picture of what's going on here. But here we're going to be looking at, well, what is work? Okay, and we're going to relate this back to the whole system, because up until now, when we've been doing physics and we're doing Newton's laws and we've been learning how to calculate things at equilibrium, or are they moving, are they static, are they dynamic, when we've been doing that, we've been actually looking at the system under the investigation. To understand what work is, we need to have a better understanding of what we mean by what is a system and how can we change the energy of that system. So let's have a look here. Okay, so when studying any process, we want to make sure it's convenient to think of it an isolated system. We want to be able to look at all the forces acting on that system, identify those forces, and then do some type of analysis of it so that we can describe its motion. So to understand what work is, really we have to understand what we mean by the system and the environment. So let's look at some examples to get this idea in your head. So if we look at a cricket player, and that cricket player is hitting a ball, and then that ball's motion is changing. So if we want to explain what's happening to that ball's motion, we're focusing in now on the ball's motion, and we're ignoring all the other motions that are occurring around it. Okay, and so the system under investigation is really the bat and the ball. What is the bat's motion doing? What is the ball's motion doing? What forces are being applied from the bat to the ball? How the ball changes its direction and velocity, etc. So the system that we're looking at here is the ball-bat system. Everything else, the batter, the movement of the batter's arms, the movement of his legs, the movement of the earth, etc., that is all external to the environment. The system is explicitly what we're looking at here, the ball's motion, and what directly impacts the ball's motion. Well, let's have a look at another example. We have a guy here on his bike, and he's going up and down a ramp here and doing some tricks. And so if we wanted to explain the motion of that person on the bike and what forces are on that motion, so we know that at this point in time he's in the air, and what sort of forces are affecting his motion there. Well, there's air resistance, but most of the time we ignore the effects of air resistance. We're going to know that there's a pull of gravity pulling him back down, and he's going to have some type of vertical velocity going upwards until he reaches the peak height when that vertical velocity is 0. But there's always going to be an acceleration going down on his body. So in thinking about those forces, we're really just looking at him. Okay, and the earth system, the earth is pulling him down towards the earth. So that's the system under investigation there, him and the earth. Everything else, all the other forces are being ignored. So we're not thinking about any external forces from these people, you know, the forces on the flags here. So the movement of the earth, for example, the spinning rotation of the earth, etc. We're ignoring all that. So the system is just the bike and gravity. Everything else is the environment. Okay, let's have a look at what that means in terms of work now. Now, work is a way to transfer energy between the system and the environment. So let me highlight that. So work is a way to transfer energy between the system and the environment. Okay, that's what work is. So if we have a look at our diagram down here, we can see that the system under investigation, just like we were talking about before, is here. And within that system, you have energy. You have kinetic energy, potential energy, and then you have other types of energy as well, thermal energy, chemical energy, elastic energy. All of this is within the system under investigation. And then we have the environment. But work is the transfer of energy from the environment to the system. And to add more to that definition, right, not only is it adding energy, it's the mechanical transfer of energy via giving a push or pull to change its position, right? So to do work on an object, right, is the energy transfer from the environment onto that object. And when you're doing work on that object has to move. Okay, and we're going to find out that's the definition of work in physics is force times displacement. There needs to be a force applied to the object, and that object needs to move. And if those two are occurring, then work is being done on the object to change its position. Okay, and so let's have a look at the examples now that we've got a better understanding of what the environment is, what the system is, and that it's the transfer of energy from the environment to the actual system. So here we have a shot putter. We have an athlete here. You can just barely see the shot put. I put the heading over that shot put there. Right, so we have the athlete putting a force onto the ball. So what's the system? Well, the system here, the thing that's changing its motion, that's moving, that we're investigating, is the actual shot put. Right? What is the environment? Well, the athlete. The athlete has imparted a force onto that shot put. Right? The athlete has applied work onto the shot put. It's added energy. It's transferred energy to the system. And as it's added work to the system, the shot put has changed its position. So work has been done on the shot put by the athlete. Okay, so work here is being transferred into kinetic energy. All right. Well, let's have a look at another example here. Here we have striking a match, right? We're lighting a match. So the system under investigation here is the match head, right? The match head in the box. That's the system we're going to be analyzing here. And the environment is the hand. So the hand is moving the match. It's providing the force over a distance. So it's providing the energy to transfer into the system. The system is the match head in the box. And so as the hand is moving that, work is being done to cause it to change its location, right? So these match head and the box, in this instance, the work is being done to cause the match to increase its motion. So we're getting an increase in kinetic energy, but we're getting some transformations happening within the system that kinetic energy is also being converted to thermal energy because we've got an increase in temperature between the two surfaces, and of course then we have a chemical reaction going on to then ignite the bit of wood. So basic ideas we're looking at here at the moment is that work, what is the definition of work? Well, work is where we transfer energy from the environment to the system, and that work, that energy transfer is mechanical energy, and mechanical energy is movement, kinetic energy or potential energy, right? We're going to find that out later on. But work is the application or transfer of energy to the system, and that is providing a push, pull or change in position. Okay, let's have another example before we finish. So what is work done on the system? Well, we know that work here is going to be done by the wind. And we're looking at the moment, starting off in a simple case, where work is done by a constant force, right? That force is not changing. And so therefore we're going to assume that this wind is a constant force acting on the sail, right? Just like with our athlete, okay? We were just assuming it's a constant force, right? We're not going to get into more complicated areas where the force is changing. It's a constant force, and that gives rise to kinetic energy. Well, here we have a windsurfer. So the windsurfer is our system now, right? The motion of our windsurfer is our system. The environment is outside of that system, and that is a force being applied to the windsurfer. It's transferring energy to the windsurfer. Okay, so work is equal to the force applied times the distance over which that force is applied, and that's causing the windsurfer to change its position. Okay, so that is when we're thinking of work being done from the environment onto a system to cause some type of change in position or its motion. And so here we sort of can see by this equation that we're going to get into more detail in the next video, that if you increase the force that you apply to something, more force means more work, and therefore we have some type of more kinetic energy given to the object, or more distance applied, etc. Okay, so that's a very basic definition. Hopefully now you get a greater understanding of what work is, this understanding of system and the environment, and transferring energy from one location to another. And that's what work is. Work in the physics sense is just a force applied to an object over a distance, and that results usually in some type of change in position or in its location in terms of its potential energy or its kinetic energy. So hopefully that makes sense. We're going to do more videos on this and get more depth and link it to the syllabus. And of course, as always, make sure your notes are detailed. You've got diagrams to explain it. You've set it on your whiteboard. You've explained it to your pet gecko, because that's how you really get your head around it, is making sense of this stuff, not just memorizing it. Because when you memorize and we give you something you've never seen before, your brain starts freaking out. So we want to understand the principles. So when we get a question that you don't know or haven't seen before, you can apply those principles to the new situation. Hopefully that makes sense. I'll see you in the next video where we keep exploring this. And as always, if you like what's happening here, of course, flip into the courses that we have at the Flip Teacher, because we go at junior level, but also senior physics, senior chemistry. And at the moment, because they're being built for year 11 and being built for junior and modified for year 12, right? They're made, but we're just modifying them to improve them, of course. At the moment, I've decided to make all of them for free, so you can check them out, explore them, see how they work, and if you like them, then of course join us for the online community. So they're free at the moment, so go over to the flipteacher.com, type in free 2022, and explore them. Let me know how we can improve them, because once they're finished and complete, then I'd love to be part of your online learning community, and we go forward into 2023. Anyway, I'll see you in the next video.